Hello, everyone. Welcome to a virtual launch party for Primitive, tapping the primal drive that powers the world's most successful people. This is a virtual book launch. Please tag your friends. Please hit share right now. We are live on multiple platforms. This is your chance to share this amazing event and the wisdom and insights that are going to come from this conversation with everyone you know. Please hit share, please retweet, please tag friends. Anywhere they are, they can be with us. My name is Sreenivasan, and I'm the Marshall Loeb Visiting Professor of Digital Innovation at the Stony Brook School of Journalism. I am honored to be here today to celebrate a wonderful new book by Marco Greenberg. Let's see if we can get Marco on the screen with us. Hi, Marco.
Hi, Sree. How are you?
Look, I dressed up for a book party, right? That's what you're supposed to do. I've got
Absolutely.
my blazer, I've got my pocket square, and you've given me a reason to do so. We're in day 33 of the lockdown in Manhattan, in your neighborhood, and I have not had a chance to dress up very often, so I'm glad to do this. If this was any other time, Marco would have been hosting a fantastic party at his Upper West Side home, or in a very fancy establishment in Midtown, or a really fun dance hall type place all the way downtown. He would have been doing any and all of those things. But today, because of COVID-19, he's hosting this grand party that's global, virtual, but still very real, just like Marco. Where are you, Marco? How are you feeling?
I am in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, which is in the heart of the Berkshires. We're talking the western part of the Commonwealth. And I'm in a small office I have here on Main Street. For those that remember, the Smithsonian Magazine ranked Great Barrington, Mass. as the best small town in America a few years back. Unfortunately, because of COVID-19, this small town looks more like a ghost town, and I have a small office looking over Main Street. Traffic is basically non-existent, although I did hear a siren a few minutes ago. So it's an honor to be with you guys. They have a saying, especially amongst my fellow Jews, that man plans and God laughs. And we had planned a lot of different book events, probably 8 or 10, in LA, Cambridge, Mass, New York City, Washington, etc. So I never would have dreamed that I'm doing a book launch in my sweatpants. Thankfully, you can't see my sweatpants, but I am in my sweatpants.
Thank you, Marco. Let's hold up a copy of the book so everybody can see it. Primitive, tapping the primal drive that powers the world's most successful people. Before we talk about the book, though, we have some guests that we want to just have them join us with us. They're going to be with us for the hour. There's Maurice Reed Jr., Tanya Valle, and Diana Higbee and Stephen Value. Each of them is part of your journey and your story, Marco. Tell us.
Yes, well, we feature an amazing set of characters in the book, and certainly there are well-known celebrity-like figures, whether that is Ariana Huffington, Oprah Winfrey, from the tech world, Mark Benioff, Elon Musk, who I like to refer as an uber primitive. We can talk more about that later, but there are many unsung heroes in the book whose stories have yet to be told, and I'm honored to be able to tell those stories. Maurice Reed and I met about 5, 6, 7 years ago, Maurice, when he was about to enroll at NYU. He has a most fascinating background that he'll tell you about and is now in the tech world. He's overcome obstacles that most of us would never dream of. Stephen Value and I met outside a batting cage in Canaan, Connecticut. Not New Canaan. Canaan, Connecticut. He was watching his son take some cuts. I was watching my son Noah take some cuts in the batting cage. We struck up a conversation. He told me about his service for our country in the war in Iraq, and he will tell you more about that. Diana Higbee. Diana, we met in wonderful circumstances flying between Honolulu and Maui this summer. on Hawaiian Airlines. And I quickly discovered that Diana is a pilot, and she was flying to her next connection. And she started telling me about herself. And I said, Diana, you must be in my book. I got to tell you about this book that I'm doing with Hachette, right? It's a major publisher. You're going to love it. Let's talk. We had an interview the next week. And finally, last but not least, Tanya Valle. Tanya is a superstar in the communications field who has done everything from being a zookeeper to being a reporter on New York One. And part of her journey also connects into one of the chapters that we have, being agnostic. So primitives like to roam. They don't get stuck in one domain, one job, even one career. They like to bounce around. They're Renaissance people. And we can discuss that more in length.
All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask the four wonderful guests we have to stand by. And Marco and I are going to have a quick conversation, set up the book, and then we're going to bring two of them on at a time. And then we're going to take questions for everybody. That's a lot of stuff we're going to do in the next hour. We have an opportunity here, folks, for you to watch a virtual book launch. Most of you have never seen one of this scale before. So please tag your friends. Please hit share so that they can be here. And Marco, somebody in my house loves book parties. So she dressed up and got some wine, and here she is.
There you go. I put on my pearls. I did the whole
I usually see you at 6:30 in the morning when we're taking our dogs off leash in Riverside Park.
That's right. I could clean up once in a while.
That's great.
I put on I put on the lipstick.
You both are looking so glamorous. You're making up for all of us. We're slovenly people, either at home or in our small, humble offices.
But congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And by the way, shout out to my wife, Stacy Nelkin.
Yes.
Now, because of the COVID-19 era, all the barbershops are closed. And Rupa, your sense of this, Sree is follically challenged. I'm follically challenged, but we still have to get our hair cut. So my wife cut my hair for the very first time in 22 years. I do have a little hair. I think we did a great job. Stacy, I love you. Thank you.
I still have your ears. That's the thing. Yeah.
Folks, that's Rupa Onnikrishnan, my wife. She's on Twitter, Rupa Online. She's going to be sharing, tweeting, posting. All of you, please do that right now. Let's tag your friends. There's somebody out there in your circle who would benefit greatly. In fact, many somebodies. If you have a Facebook group, share this into the group. Start a watch party. It's so easy to do. And this is going to be, unfortunately, part of the way life and business is for a while. And so the better we can get at these tools and technologies, the better off we're all going to be. So let's talk a little bit about the book. Let me also tell you a little more about Marco, because not everybody here is a friend of Marco's yet. They will be. But what happens at a real book party is Marco's friends would be there, and they would be there to celebrate him. But because this is global, that means there are a lot more people there who might not otherwise have gotten to know Marco yet. So let me tell you a little bit about him, and we'll tell you a little bit about the book. First of all, the book has gotten great reviews. Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank, she says, Primitive provides a path forward to unleash your inner entrepreneur. And Daniel Pink, who I'm a huge fan of, writes, the book captures insights and advice that everyone can use to thrive in the constantly evolving workplace. And Dan Pink is amazing. And Paul Sagan, there's nothing primitive about Marco Greenberg's understanding of what makes smart entrepreneurs successful and others not. And Jeremy Abates, who's the publisher of Scientific American, says, insightful, practical, inspiring. Marco is a gifted writer and thinker. You can apply the lessons from his book in your personal and professional lives. Marco, by way of background, has spearheaded marketing and communications and public affairs campaigns for an array of Fortune 500 companies, as well as startups, healthcare organizations. He was previously managing director at the global PR firm Burson Marsteller, and he sees his role as being a creative catalyst inside companies or working with companies. And he's been written about in a bunch of different places, including Business Insider, Entrepreneur, New York Daily News, Tablet Magazine, Thrive Global. and he has a BA from UCLA and a master's from Columbia's School of International and Public Affairs. Folks, if you're watching right now, we hope you will do the right thing that you do at all book parties, buy a copy of the book. And you can do that by going to primitivebook.com, and our hashtag is PrimitiveBook. So make sure you tweet, you share with the hashtag PrimitiveBook. So Marco, this is not how you envisioned your book launch, but you are here. You've embraced this despite what is definitely a disappointment. But in the context of everything else going on in the world, we don't really care about your disappointment, do we?
No, we don't. We don't. And as you're talking about the book, I should say, and connecting it to some of my professional background, I've had people ask, like, so why did you write a book that's a little bit self-help, a little bit business, some memoir sprinkled in, and certainly a career book? And originally, the notion was write about what you know. And I think everyone can have that moment when we realize maybe we know more about the larger world than just what our day job is. I'm certainly not leaving my day job. I love the clients that I serve on the marketing communications front. But I step back with the encouragement of my agent, Michael Palgan. I'd like to give a big shout out to Michael. And he said, look, marketing books right now are a dime a dozen. What can you tap into in the most successful people that you've worked with? And fast forward, I was sitting on my couch at an office on the Upper West Side, and I said in a conversation with my business partner, Liel Leibovitz, what really distinguishes the most uber successful people that we've worked with, and we'll define successful as we go on in the conversation. And I said, the first thing is they're friggin' nuts. They're crazy. A lot of them are eccentric. They march to their own drum. They take the road less traveled. So we tried to step back and reclaim the word primitive, which can be a loaded term, but we mean it in the most positive sense of the word. What is pure, what is instinctive, what is organic, what is natural, sometimes what is raw. And we found a lot in both the research that we've conducted, in the interviews, over 60 interviews that we've had, that a lot of folks err more on the civilized side. They do what they should do, what they must do. And part of the message of this book is to tap into what's more primal, what's more natural, get in touch with what your body and your heart and your soul are actually feeling in order to leapfrog in your own professional life.
So that's a great way to frame this book. Let's give some more shout outs to the people who made this book possible. You already talked about your agent.
Absolutely. A huge shout out to Hachette Books. They've been incredibly helpful in not just the stage that we're at right now, the marketing, but Dan Ambrosio, my editor, working hand in hand with me in terms of crafting the message. Certainly Nick Bromley, a collaborator, co-writer, the best in the business, a 31-year-old superstar that you'll hear more about. John Scheinberg, a former researcher at 60 Minutes, did incredible research. And certainly Liel Leibovitz, a friend of almost a quarter of a century, helping me in terms of the primitive concept. And he was absolutely crucial in assisting me in developing that. So I'm ridiculed sometimes by having an acknowledgement section that goes on for about 10 pages, which is probably a modern record in publishing. But it comes from the heart in the sense that it does take a village, it does take a team, and I've been very fortunate to have just a superstar team by my side.
That's awesome. And I want to remind everyone, the hashtag for the book is Primitive Book, hashtag on Twitter, on Instagram. Why not take a selfie with Marco? We'll give you one shot of Marco so that whenever he's speaking, you can just take a selfie. Maybe I'll do that right now. Let's get a one shot of Marco, and I'm going to take a selfie with him because this is so cool. And let's see, there we go. There he is. And I'm going to post this later. Everybody do that. We want to celebrate Marco, celebrate the book. This is such an important time for an author. It's the work of years of effort. And here he is trying to make the most of it. And we are helping him by doing so. So please tag him and please use the hashtag #PrimitiveBook on Twitter or Instagram, anywhere that you are live right now. And post your comments. Ask your questions. This is a chance to learn, not just talk and just celebrate. We are trying to learn as well. So before
can I make one quick additional shout out? Natan Edelsberg and the folks at Muckrack have done an outstanding job, and they've been very supportive of my book. One of the in-person physical events that we will reschedule will be with Muckrack. We invite you all to that, hopefully when the coronavirus fog lifts. There's also just a real quick backstory of about 30 seconds. Natan Edelsberg's grandfather, Buck Buchwald, one of the legends in public relations, the co-founder of Burson Marsteller, hired me based on a cold call, okay? I pulled what I call in the book, a primitive move during a very tough economic time in the early 1990s. And after I was rebuffed by HR, after I couldn't get a meeting with anyone in mid-level management, I went right to the top and I put together a pretty cheeky letter that was really a pitch letter. I didn't realize at the time. And I said, "Dear Mr. Buchwald, I've been practicing public relations without a license." And he called me in. So a message for all those, tragically, millions of people now unemployed, and the friends and family that love them, that taking the conventional, more civilized path is not usually going to get you what you want, especially in tough economic times.
I hear you. And cheers to Muckrack. I have their mug. We do a lot of work together, and they're awesome, the entire team. And I didn't know that about Natan. What a wonderful legacy that he gets to live up to every day. That's really exciting. Folks, if you're watching live or recording, start a watch party, hit share, RT this. We want people to come in, tag them, because they're going to learn so much. We're getting right into the heart of the conversation. We're going to bring two of our speakers in, and we're going to talk to them. The two guests there are four guests. Two of them are all four in the book, and two of them are going to first join us, and then another two are going to come in, and then we'll get all four back. So we'll have a nice, robust Q&A with everybody. Let's just read some of the comments. Or it says, "Great new way to launch. Love this." If you love this, talk to Marco so that you can do more of these kinds of launches. Let's see. Braze Worthy says, "We're looking forward to reading it, Marco." That's awesome. So many people watching around the world. Regine says, "Hi, Tanya," to one of the folks who's going to be joining us. So this is just a great environment. We're so happy to have everyone here. So let's bring on our guests. And Bird says, "Can't wait." That is awesome. So let's bring on our guests. And there's Tanya Valle. Hi, Tanya. And there's Stephen Value. So let me tell you about each of them, and then we'll have a conversation. Mostly Marco is going to talk to them, and I will ask some questions as well. Tanya Valle is founder of Tanya Valle Coaching. She's a career coach, money coach, and mindfulness meditation teacher. I need that, Tanya. We got to talk afterwards. She's a former New York City television reporter, press secretary in former Mayor Michael Bloomberg's administration, a Fortune 50 corporate public relations executive, and a zookeeper. She went from being that zookeeper to on-air reporter in 9 months. Folks, everybody needs to hear her story. Please tag and share with your friends right now. And Tanya, I want to double check. You've done your sharing, right?
Yes, I have. Thank you.
Thank you. And let me tell you about Stephen Value. He's a retired EOD technician working with explosives. He is a medically retired U.S. Army technician, served in both Afghanistan and Iraq. In his 10 years, he's in his 10th year as a volunteer fire district commissioner, served as a firefighter prior to joining the military, a single dad who enjoys spending time showing his children and others through sports and recreation that a life-changing injury doesn't make anything impossible. Sir, we salute you. Thank you for everything you've done for your community, your neighborhood, your family, and of course, your country. We salute you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, Marco, tell us about these great people. have that conversation. I'll jump in with questions, but this is your show.
And Sree, if Stephen has trouble hearing me, he just texted he might. Stephen, can you hear me? I don't know if he can. So maybe Sree, you can pick up on it.
I'll ask the question for Stephen.
Stephen is certainly one of the heroes in our book, and he appears in the Gallant chapter. For those just tuning in, the book is based on an acronym that we call roaming. So just as our ancient ancestors went roaming through the prairie, we modern day primitives are also on the move. We're agile, we're nimble, we take the path less traveled. R is for relentless, and it doesn't just mean working hard. Sometimes it's shifting lanes, quitting, starting again, etc. O is oppositional, having the courage to tell people, hey, I disagree. Obviously doing it in a way that doesn't get you fired, but makes a point nonetheless. A is for agnostic. We're going to talk to Tanya a little bit about that, and that's the ability to jump from field to field. M is messianic, and I don't necessarily mean from a religious sense, but it's going even beyond the passion-driven life. It's really seeing your work as your calling, your higher calling, your divine purpose. I is for insecure. And although a lot of people walk around, especially today, saying it's all good, we know through COVID-19, it's not always all good. Sometimes it's anything but. So embracing your insecurity, weaponizing it, is something that primitives do in the workplace. And as we talked about earlier, is nuts, is eccentric, is irreverent, is impetuous, is impulsive. And you see a lot of great people that actually look at the data, but they still make decisions very, very quickly. And it brings us to G, gallant, which is concern for the other. And I think Stephen Value absolutely magnifies that in everything that he does, not only as fire commissioner in Millertown, New York, but also for his service in Iraq, certainly, which he paid a very heavy price for his work with youth in the community. He is jumping out of airplanes, people, and he is a paraplegic. He is teaching people how to ski, fellow disabled vets. I mean, if you see some of these shots here, they're absolutely phenomenal. As my wife and kids know, I get scared just being in a commercial aircraft, let alone flying one as Diana does, let alone jumping out of one. So that's just a little bit about Stephen. I brought him to the U.S. Army War College, where we do a yearly event in honor of another primitive, my friend Danny Lewin, the late co-founder of Akamai Technologies. And Stephen got a full round of applause, a standing ovation from the top officers in the U.S. military for his service. And we applaud him each and every day. And maybe Stephen can share a little bit about, what they said when you said you wanted to jump out of airplanes. I think there was a reaction that wasn't totally positive from doctors, instructors, others.
Stephen, you just want to make sure you heard that question. How did people react, your doctors and others, when you said you wanted to jump out of airplanes?
Well, we can't really say that live on this feed, but they wanted to know what the reason why, or what my interest, what would make me even consider that. And obviously to try to maintain some kind of safety factor, which pretty much, in their eyes, there wasn't one. But, it's probably one of those tough positions that they were in, because they don't want to discourage, veterans from trying to, continue on with their life one way or another. But also, they have to, kind of err in the side of caution as well.
And so that's certainly why they would have been like that. EOD, one of those words is explosives, right? So how did you decide this is the work you were going to do in the military?
I actually, my first deployment to Afghanistan, was able to work with EOD in country. and really learned a lot from them, and really gained a tremendous interest, because it's not just going up and taking a hammer and clanging on a bomb or something like that. There's a lot of safeties, a lot of involvement, to understand and learn the functionality of the weapon systems and the devices. So it was kind of, I guess, a challenge in itself, but also it was very interesting, because it was more than just the normal everyday run of the mill type of thing. So when I got back in country, I dropped some paperwork to volunteer for it, because it is volunteer. And I was selected, and I was picked up and ended up going to EOD school shortly thereafter.
As we think about the tragedy of so many of our veterans who feel like they can't go on anymore, what is your message to them? I know you work with some, you talk to them. What is it that your message is, and what can we do as a country to help those who have served us so gallantly and so in such a wonderful, important way?
Well, I mean, my message to other veterans is you're not alone, by any means. We all have different injuries, different effects from being overseas, whether it's one deployment or multiple deployments. We're all exposed to different factors while we're in country. And the biggest thing is when we come back stateside, we're all kind of thrown back into, thrown to the dogs together, and, trying to find a way to create that sense of normalcy or what we're used to back home without being, at a heightened level with your adrenaline running, max straight out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's the biggest challenge that I found. And, hence that's why I jump out of airplanes and some of the other maybe questionable things that I might do. But, it's finding what works for you, because what works for me might not work for you or another veteran. And, really what I'm about is trying to find what works for you, and hey, I'm not going to try to sell you on something that I haven't tried or haven't done myself. Be like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. There's no way I'm doing it though. Yeah, absolutely not. I'll be the first one to bail out of the aircraft before you. Be like, come here, I'll show you how it's done.
That's great, Stephen. I just want to make sure people can find you on social. We have your contacts that we're going to just put on a crawl at the bottom. People can find you on LinkedIn. People can find you on Facebook. So please do connect. What an inspiring story, sir. I am so grateful that I had a chance to meet you in this way, not just read about you in the book, but to talk to you in this manner. So thank you. We're going to talk a little bit to Tanya. We're going to come back to both of you. Let's go to Tanya. I got to ask, zookeeper to New York One reporter in 9 months, not 9 years or 19 years. Tell us how you did it.
Yes, well, in between, or what I should say, while I was on the job picking up poop on my days off, I was also volunteering at a local New York City television station. So a few months after volunteering, they offered me a job. So I said bye to zookeeping and on to broadcast work. So that's pretty much how I did it, working for free.
We're looking at some photographs of you. There you are as New York One reporter, which is so cool. The big important station here in New York City, and also there you are with the seals or sea lion or seals, right? And
yep, the sea lion.
Yeah. So both industries have been affected badly by what's happening, right? The COVID-19. We've seen so many journalists lose their jobs. We've seen zoos and other attractions being shut down. How do you, when you look at these situations, how do you respond? How do you think? And I know Marco also has a question for you after that.
Yeah, I still obviously have friends who are zookeepers, and they're telling me how their work is. They're splitting up shifts, but they're very passionate people. So no matter what, they're there to care for animals, and they kind of put their own self-interest aside. And as far as journalism, I mean, this is an unprecedented time, and it really is bringing out the best in journalists who are passionate and truly ethical and concerned with how they're reporting. So to me, this situation is bringing out the very best in people in those two industries.
That's great. We'll remind people that you're a career coach. They can find Tanya Valle Coaching, and she's on Facebook as Tanya Valle Coach. On Twitter, she's Tanya Valle 23, and she used to work as press secretary for former Mayor Michael Bloomberg. Go ahead, Marco.
I was just going to say that both Tanya and Stephen represent a lot of what's best in a primitive. I think they both are able to experiment, tap into that intellectual curiosity, the ability to actually move to field to field, as we talked about earlier. But it's also something that is kind of primal in our nature. I want to share with you some gifts that I got from my kids. It's actually my birthday today, okay? That's a total coincidence. We love Hachette. They didn't realize it's my birthday when they picked the launch date many, many months ago. But I got two gifts for my wife and for my kids. One is adult in training. I've been challenged to indicate how old I am. I'm 56 and proud of it. So, but my wife says I act more like a 16-year-old, hence adult in training. And the second was people I want to meet, one, dogs. So I think there's something about, yes, nature, yes, children, yes, animals, that need not be cruel or coarse or crude, but can really represent the best in nature, be loving and kind. And we see that in so many people that we profile in the book. And I think, again, with both Stephen and also Tanya, they could have just focused, specialized, be domain experts. A lot of us go through our professional lives really staying in that one lane. Both of them had the courage to jump lanes. Maybe I'll pose to Tanya, what did your family say? What did your friends say when you wear so many different professional hats?
Yeah, well, I have a neighbor who every time he sees me, he asks me, so where are you working now? So people, I think, are very used to me kind of jumping around, hopping around. And to your point, Marco, I've just followed my curiosity, and I've just, if there was an area or work that I was interested in doing, I said, well, let me see, why not? Let me see if I could make this happen. And, you know, when you have that enthusiasm, when you have the desire, when you're willing to make time for something maybe outside of your regular job, opportunities happen and people see it and people want to help you.
Great answer. Sree?
Yeah, this is such a great conversation that we're having.
It applies to Stephen too, and maybe you have to translate for some reason he's not hearing me. But you know, for Stephen also is someone who wears so many hats and wears them well, and really embraces risk. And in my conversations with Stephen, I've really heard from him that it's not just the camaraderie that veterans have together, but it's also that adrenaline rush. And there are more quote unquote civilized people out there. And let me just make clear, we're all in the spectrum, right? I'm kind of a mutt. I skew more primitive, but I still have a lot of civilized people pleasing ways about me. But there are those that skew way on one side and way on the other. But one thing that civilized people tend to do is they tend to, you know, cross the T's and dot the I's and be more risk averse. Stephen is someone that realizes that, as we say, riding the tiger is really what life is all about. And there are ways to do that and be successful. And it's not just monetary success. It's making an impact, which he clearly does. It's having his independence, which Tanya and all the other primitives do. And it's also having fun doing it. I mean, Stephen, it's a lot of fun jumping out of planes for you. For me, it would scare the you-know-what out of me. But for you, it's fun, right?
So the question, Stephen, was that we wanted to hear from you about that adrenaline rush that you get going in, taking chances. You're also the fire district commissioner. As a firefighter, you've done, you've done that. You're a volunteer. You've done so much that is so dangerous. Can you talk a little bit about that? I want to make sure your mic is also not muted. Yeah, there you go.
So I don't know. I mean, to me, it's not really just dangerous. I guess it's just all adrenaline based. Prior to going into the military, I was an active firefighter in a volunteer fire company up here in upstate New York. Obviously, when I came back from the service, I wasn't able to, fulfill that role any longer. But somehow wanted to give back to the community and ran for fire district commissioner and was elected to a 5-year term, and then reelected 5 years later for another 5-year, and we'll be up for reelection again the latter part of this year. The adrenaline stuff, I don't know. It's hard to explain. I guess it's just trying to find that void, try to replicate, the adrenaline of walking up onto a device, not knowing what it's going to do or what it might do or what it might not do. But it's hard to replicate that kind of adrenaline here stateside. But I have found ways to come very close to it, and pretty happy with it. And, if I can help other veterans or other, individuals, that are dealing with PTSD or any kind of life-changing event, that, that's what it's all about. There's no sense going through life alone. And, if I can change one thing to help one person, overall, I think that's a success. I realize it's not realistic to think that I'm going to change the world and save everybody and help everybody. But, I've talked to Marco about this a number of times, changing one person's life is huge, and that's how you start, one at a time.
I couldn't agree more, and that's what we learn, right? That he who saves one life saves the world entire. And Stephen and Tanya, we're just going to say goodbye for a moment and bring in our other two guests, and then we're going to bring you back. So we salute both of you and thank you for being here, folks. If you're watching right now, we are talking about Primitive, Tapping the Primal Drive That Powers the World's Most Successful People, a brand new book by Marco Greenberg. How new? Today is the book launch. And we want you to go to primitivebook.com. Buy the book, please, primitivebook.com, and give the hashtag #PrimitiveBook. Use that hashtag everywhere. We want to see the buzz. All of that matters in how books can be successful. Another thing that makes books successful are book events in multiple cities, and Marco is not getting to do that, so we're doing this book launch instead. It's a new world, Marco. And do you think that people who have these primitive traits, as you say, that word that you use, do you think they can adjust better to the changes around us? You and I did a webcast a couple of weeks ago, it seems like a couple of years ago, where we talked about will anything change and who will survive in that new world?
Well, it's no secret that the world has been turned upside down in only a month. And we're living in very primal times, right? We're talking about things that are very core and basic to our livelihood, whether it's mortality, whether it's sustenance, whether it's safety, whether it's security. Getting in touch with that is something that we're all experiencing at a macro level. So I would say that although it's tragic, one could argue that the relevance of the book has only increased as we're in this very primal era. And playing by the normal civilized rule book just ain't going to work anymore, especially when we're facing record unemployment that we haven't seen since the Great Depression. So, a lot of people out there are in classifications. Am I an entrepreneur? Am I a corporate type? Am I right brain? Am I left brain? Am I an introvert? Am I an extrovert? For us, we think we've stumbled on two other types of people that can help people get the most out of their careers, boost their own self-awareness, and help all our coworkers better understand the personality types that they're working with every day.
Awesome. Folks, we've got some great comments here. Laura Kaplan says, what a treat to see this virtual launch with all of your impressive guests. What a great time to read your book with what I assume will be a time of many career changes. Happy birthday. This is awesome. Tom Franklin, good luck. Marco Greenberg, hi. Tom Franklin is an awesome photographer and professor of journalism, and we salute everybody who's watching and who are out there working and helping people as they do, as Marco does in his work, and as our guests do. So are you ready for our next set of guests? By the way, Beryl says, oops, let me just get Beryl's comment up. Marco, very much forward looking to reading it. Best of luck. And Paul says, Stephen, Tanya, your stories are fascinating. Thanks for letting Marco share them. What a great job with this virtual launch. And Regine says, congrats, Marco. All right, so let's bring on our next two guests. We have Maurice Reed Jr. and Diana Higby are both going to be with us. We're very excited to have them. Maurice is an account executive at Zillow Group, and he spent most of his childhood and adolescent years growing up in New York City's foster care and juvenile systems. Despite the adversity and challenges he faced over the years, Maurice obtained a GED, attended community college, and graduated from NYU. In addition, he spends his free time as a mentor and motivational speaker for young people. Welcome, Maurice. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And Diana is the first officer at United Airlines. She's a former chief pilot, director of operations, manager of flight training, instructor pilot. She started flying gliders at the soaring capital of America in Harris Hills, New Jersey at 14 years old. Oh my goodness. So this was your destiny to do this, right? Unlike a lot of the other people that we've heard have kind of gone around flirting with various things, you knew this is what you want to do. So I'm going to have Marco come back and tell us a little more about these folks and get their stories to us. For those of you watching, just a housekeeping timekeeping. You know, we were supposed to go an hour, but with Marco and everyone's permission, we're going to extend that a little bit because we want more people to learn from these great experts. Please go to primitivebook.com, buy the book, order the book, go to Amazon, wherever you like to go, Barnes & Noble, but also share this conversation. It's recorded and will play in the platform you're watching, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. It will play right after this. Please share it. Please tag your friends. That's how you can help Marco, but also help get these stories going. And look at that. Hashem Books comes through. Happy birthday.
Thank you, Hashem.
Yeah.
They've been terrific also in streaming our event over their numerous platforms, and so appreciate the opportunity they have given us today. And I want to just segue to Diana. And Diana, I'm going to let you tell your story, but I'll just say this, that you have an oppositional spirit and also a gallant spirit, right? You care for the other, but you're also courageous enough to tell people when they're wrong, when you disagree. You're able to push back, and that's not easy to do in a world where everyone engages in groupthink and says, yes, great idea, I just want to echo your remarks, etc. So how did you get the courage to fight the FAA for the right to fly again?
Well, the short answer is I don't like to be told no. And when I know that something is right, I will fight for it, and I will fight for it all day. So I knew that I had a stroke back in 2015, and I was already a pilot. I was a captain, and I lost my medical for years. And if I was just a regular person having a stroke because I was overweight or didn't take care of myself, I would have done my medical back right away. But because the nature of the stroke was my birth control, the FAA did not want to help me. So I took it upon myself. I never had a case like mine. So I found doctors that were like-minded in the sense of aggressive as I was, that believed that I didn't fit that mold. And we started just working towards everything we could to prove what my doctors already knew, that it was from my birth control. So we just worked tirelessly, tons of tests just to prove my fitness to fly.
I love that story. It inspires so many, and I continually learn new things from the people profiled in the book as I continue talking to them. And Diana, maybe you could also just, before we get to Maurice, tell us about a little bit of a primitive move that you made to get hired by United Airlines, right? A lot of times big corporations look at primitives, who others call mavericks and disruptors and change agents and rebels, et cetera, they get a little cautious about hiring people that have that oppositional streak. Tell us a little bit about how you got that job.
Well, I was in a pool with tens of thousands of other qualified pilots, and I hadn't flown for a few years when I was without a medical, so I needed to differentiate myself a little bit. So I took a chance, and I emailed the chief pilot, the person that was in charge of 13,000 plus pilots. I just first name dot last name email, and just went for it. And a few weeks later, I got a response. So it worked. It set me apart just enough to get my foot in the door.
Right. Sree, we have a section in the book that talks about doing what you're not supposed to do, right? She wasn't supposed to go direct to the top. Earlier in my career, I wasn't supposed to go direct to the top. And Maurice, you've done things that you weren't supposed to do, that people didn't think you were able to do. Tell us a little bit about how you went from being in a pretty tough situation in Bed-Stuy before Bed-Stuy was hip to going on to graduate with distinction from NYU.
Yeah. And tell us about these photographs also, Maurice. Tell us what we're looking at.
So this is a photo from 10 years ago. I was about 18 years old. And, I definitely wasn't the person that you see right now on live. Very influenced, I would say, a product of my environment, which was the case. At the time, I was a young, misguided young man who was influenced by the gang life. I would say the gang life, and I was very much in the streets. But I had a lot of mentors and people who encouraged me to take a different route, and also knew that I had a lot of potential. So at a very young age, I obtained my GED. This picture, I was 18 years old. And at the time, I signed myself into the foster care system, and decided that it would be best for me to take advantage of the resources by getting myself into school and being able to secure a future for myself.
I love your handles there. Oh, by the way, there's that great photo at NYU. We know that fountain. Tell us about it. Tell us about this moment.
If you look at the photo, I can get biblical at times, but there's a rainbow in the photo.
Yes.
And that, I don't know how that appeared, but that's God's promise. And I remember being 16, 17 inside of a cell, praying for a better life, for some change in my life. And that moment was definitely a day where I was someone that came from, a background where I don't even know how to explain it. It's a crazy story, but to be at NYU amongst a lot of kids who might not have been on third base, starting at third base, it was definitely a moment in time where I felt really proud of myself. That was a proud moment.
Yeah, we're so proud of you, Maurice, for what you've done. Look at that. That's out of GQ. What's going on over here?
Yeah, I consider myself a very fashionable guy. When I go out to events or whenever I have to, throw on my professional side of me, definitely will dress to impress and dress for success as well.
Nice. I love that. We're also going to give everyone your Twitter and other handles. You'll see them going on the bottom of your screen. Maurice is at maurice.anthony1 on Facebook. Follow me, Maurice, on Twitter. And there's his LinkedIn, and his IG is Changed Perspectives. I love that. Tell me about Changed Perspectives as your Instagram handle.
So Changed Perspectives, my former handle was Maurice Change. And I went by Maurice Change for the last 7 years on Instagram. And it was almost like Maurice Change, right? Where a lot of my former friends would say that I changed my lifestyle in a funny way. It was sort of like a double entendre, if you will. And recently, I decided that I want to start branding myself in a different way. And I changed my Instagram handle to Change Perspectives, where I'll be able to talk about some of the changes that I've made and maybe talk about issues, whether if it's foster kids, juvenile, corporate, tech, anything in that regard, and how it relates to some of the struggles and challenges and stuff that I had to overcome in my life.
Terrific. Marco, over to you. We have a few minutes with these two folks, and then we'll bring everybody back and we'll take some questions.
I'm always amazed when I hear Maurice's story, and my own background is quite different. I wasn't in a gang in Bed-Stuy. I was at Beverly Hills High School, 90210. So very different environment, but we've been able to bond. He's a young, talented African-American superstar whose best is ahead of him. I'm a middle-aged Jewish guy, and yet we find a lot of common ground. I think part of that is the ability to adapt to change, to go through hard times, to be nimble. I can tell you just one primitive anecdote from my own life is I was pulled out of school in the 3rd grade and brought to a sailboat in Mexico to live with my father. We literally bartered. He would barter cigarettes for fresh food, fish. He would get stoned on the hammock on the deck, and I was given the tiller at 9 years old. So I think one of the areas that perhaps Maurice and I bond on is we had some experiences when we were young that we had to take on some huge responsibilities and overcome adversity. And I think in the time that we're living in right now, again, to tap into what your body is saying. There's a wonderful book out that my wife turned me on, and also Brian Burkapak, if he's watching, turned me on to, The Body Keeps the Score. And it's about childhood trauma. And I think when we're all traumatized by the COVID-19 world, it's more important than ever to really get in touch with what we want out of our personal lives and also in our professional lives. And I predict that a lot of people are going to reassess not only where they're working from, whether it's remote, in person, etc., but what they want to do, what they really want to do, not what they should do or what they must do, but what they want to do. And adversity can be a great lesson. And Maurice, if you want to share what you've gone through over the last few weeks, because it's certainly right in the epicenter of COVID-19.
Yeah. So one thing that I've experienced over the last couple of weeks, I actually just recovered from the COVID-19. From having fevers to loss of taste, just not knowing the certainty on whether or not I was going to overcome it was tragic. And to know that there's so many people, especially I lost a friend yesterday, someone that helped raise me and helped develop me into the person that I was. His name is UC Frazier, and great man. And he recently passed away from the COVID-19. And one thing that, during my recovery that I'm appreciative of is being able to be grateful, to know that I'm here again for a reason. It's not over yet. There's always a new beginning. I want to send my condolences to anyone who has experienced the COVID-19 and has recovered, to the family of anyone who's going through it right now. But yeah, this was a pretty much of a rude awakening for me to just appreciate life a little better.
Thank you, Maurice. And we pray for everyone. And we're glad that some of the folks have recovered. I think it gives people hope to know that folks have recovered. I did an interview with Bill Ritter, the famous ABC journalist, and to hear that he had recovered gave all of us a little uplift. And so that was great. By the way, I like your t-shirt. Listen for the beep. That's old school technology, isn't it? When you had to do that. And that's pretty good. Let's get some of the comments in, and then we'll bring everybody back. And I have a question for Diana before we do that, but let's see the comments that are incoming. So many great comments. Mark says, Brother Maurice, one of the most upstanding men I know, proud to call him friend. How is that?
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Kevin says, hi, Diana. These are all friends of yours coming out, or new friends will also be showing up. Yeah. Let's keep going. Bought the book yesterday, halfway through. Absolutely outstanding and inspirational. MT Kelly from New Jersey. Nick KG says, happy birthday, Marco. Looking forward to a great read. And Joe says, can't wait to read this book. Does a genie live in the lamp behind Diana? I hope so. That's Joe Prowl watching on YouTube. Or on all these I don't have time to read all the emojis. Sharon says, Diana, you fought the FAA and won. Not an easy thing to do. So for people who just joined us, just explain that story one more time so that people understand that it is not easy to fight the FAA, and you won.
It's not. It's a process, but that's part of why I wanted to do it, because we might not have had like roadblock after roadblock. It takes a lot to have to go through it. I got rejection letter after denial. So I kept at it. I had a team of people, a team of physicians, my Alpha Union, their aeromedical team backed me up. You name it, doctors across the country helping me. While some doctors told me, look, what the FAA does is written in stone. So if they want you to have this unnecessary surgery, you have to have it done. But I wouldn't give up, and I wanted to prove that I'll fight for what's right, and that I'll make it better for the people that have to do it behind me.
Well, thank you so much for doing that. I'm just getting, my phone is alive with all these comments. Marco, it's a tribute to you. Diana, for all your work. We're so grateful. Can't wait to read your book, Marco. May you continue to inspire. And Diana's contact information also going across the bottom. We've got her social media. Jeremy says, thank you, Maurice. Thank you so much for sharing these stories. Is Primitive also an audiobook, says Robert?
Absolutely. And Hachette did a fabulous job in finding wonderful voiceover talent, a much better voice than yours truly. And I urge you guys to get on there and hear the audio rendition. It's really, really outstanding.
That's awesome. I also got someone here saying, asking if we could recommend some independent bookstores like bookshop.org and others as well, so that people can get the book. And we'll put a link to that in primitivebook.com as well, so we get as many types of bookstores in there. Adam says, Marco, what was the most interesting interview for you personally? And then we're just going to get ready to bring everybody back onto the screen. So Marco, go ahead with that question.
Adam is writing from Panama City. Wow. Adam, it's great to have you join. He's a new friend. And primitives make new friends when they roam around the world. And we struck up a friendship a couple months ago. I think to answer your question, Rapid City, South Dakota. I was there this last summer, and I met a wonderful woman, Bev, who is a Native American whose first language is Lakota. Bev Warren is truly an inspiration to the Native American nurses that she trains in South Dakota to provide the best healthcare possible in a state that's struggling. This is a state that has poverty levels that you would think could never exist in the United States of America. The average age for men is 47 years of age in Pine Ridge. And Bev Warren is an absolute hero. So I think for those people watching out there, yes, I've had a front row seat as a PR guy and working with this kind of CEOs that Sree mentioned, whether they're Fortune 500, whether they are founders of unicorns, like amazing people like Austin McCord, my old friend Danny, folks at WeWork, that was inspiring, also a cautionary tale. But I think one of the wonderful things that we've stumbled upon are the more ordinary stories, quote unquote, they're actually extraordinary. And for you journalists out there, To the best of my knowledge, Maurice's story hasn't been told in the public domain until now. Diana's story hasn't been told in the public domain until now. So I think there are a lot of nuggets out there that will surprise some people in a good way.
Terrific. And we want journalists to contact you. And we have Marco's information as well. Marco Greenberg is very easy to find. Just go to primativebook.com and at Marco Greenberg. So this is the moment I've been waiting for. Everybody back on screen. Let's get them back. And I'll reintroduce you to all of them. We also got some great comments coming in. So here is, remember, we're here to celebrate the book. So buy the book, folks. Don't be lazy. Don't put it off. Primativebook.com and hashtag primativebook. We want you to get this book, Tapping the Primal Drive That Powers the World's Most Successful People. And let me reintroduce you. Look at this. What a great moment. Everyone, take a photo of this. Take a screenshot. Oh, yeah, let's have everybody hold up the book, those who have it. I think Tanya and I are the only ones without the book. Stephen has a copy in there somewhere. There he does as well. Nice. What a round of applause. Happy birthday to Marco. I'm going to ask each of you a very serious, very important question. And I'm going to ask Marco first to put him on the spot. That'll give others a chance, unrehearsed, right? So Marco, who do you get to play you in the book, in the movie of the book? And each of them gets to pick their own actor or actress.
By the time the movie is made, it'll be a while from now. And I have some amazing children that are now basically grown. Antonia's 21, working at the Rockefeller Neuroscience Institute. Stella's 15 in high school. But the winner there would be my son, Noah Edward Greenberg. He's a true primitive. He's off on scholarship to Wittenberg University. He'll be on the football team, hopefully getting a spot. He's going to major in entrepreneurship. But like his mother, Stacy Nelkin, he's interested in acting. And Noah has the acting bug, the acting gene. So I think it's going to be Noah playing me. And one final shout out, this book would not be possible without my wife, Stacy Nelkin. We met 22 years ago. We did everything backwards. First, she got pregnant. Then we went on our honeymoon. Then we got married. I'd only known her for 6 weeks when she was pregnant with Antonia, and it was not a mistake. That was the ultimate primitive move. The civilized thing would have been courtship, would have been engagement, but we jumped in. And I think a lot of people, especially in today's world, are getting a sense that life is short. We shouldn't postpone joy. It's time to really key in on what we want to do from a primal point of view.
Wow, what a story. Marco, I've known you for 15, 20 years. I didn't know this, so we got to catch up on that. All right, Maurice, who plays you in the movie and the Netflix show?
Wow, there's not a lot of people that can be me, so I guess it will be me.
Oh, okay. Okay, I see where you're going. Stephen, who plays you in the movie? Stephen, I don't know if you can hear me, Steve. Go ahead.
I don't know about that. I'm not sure.
All right, Tanya, help me here. Let's get an actress.
Yes, Eva Longoria.
There you go. Well done. All right. If the others want to change their minds apart from Marco, there's still what? Go ahead.
Common.
That's right. Okay, he's got the hairstyle still at the start. All right, good call on Common. Diana, over to you.
I'm gonna go with Jennifer Garner.
All right, very cool. Very cool. This is
by the way, if my sister's watching, I had a 10-minute conversation with Jennifer Garner outside the school that my wonderful nieces and nephew went to, Ariana, Bianca, and Charlie, the Brentwood School. I turned to my sister and I said, who is that attractive woman I've been talking to for the last 10 minutes? I didn't know.
Marco. All right, Maurice and Diana's stories are incredible, says Ramhadar Goldschmidt. Thank you and well done, Marco. Today, Tuesday, twice Mazel Tov, aka good, not once but twice. Can't wait to read my copy. Those are the real friends, folks. Go out there, buy a copy. That's how you support not just Marco, but the folks in the publishing business, Hachette and elsewhere. Everyone's been devastated by this. If you can afford a copy of the book, you buy a copy of the book. If you can afford 10, you buy 10. Paula says, Diana, Maurice, thank you. Marco, happy birthday. Kevin says Diana's younger sister, but there isn't a day that I don't learn from her. Talk about an inspiration, Diana. Well, how beautiful is that? Loretta says, I'm so proud of you, DA. I'm not sure who that's about, but let's keep going. I'd love to see all these comments. Stefan says, Maurice, it's amazing seeing how far you've come, my brother. I can't wait to read the book. That is awesome. Loretta says, Diana, proud of you always. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So, Marco, we have to wrap this up. We're going to just pull back on screen the book jacket so that people can see it when they go onto Amazon or primativebook.com or any of their favorite independent bookstores. We want people to buy this book. Robert says that we will have Marco live. 1 second. He's going to be live on Instagram Live at 3 p.m. on Friday at the Marketplace Kitchen. Excellent, excellent.
Right.
That's really cool. And anybody who's watching who's a journalist wants to interview any of these people, contact Marco. He can help get you in touch with.
Sree, the Columbia Journalism School produced yet another great talent, John Scheinberg, who led the research for the book, formerly of 60 Minutes, CNN. He just has a comment there. The book is filled with great original reporting, and John and Nick in particular, and Michael, my agent, Nick, an amazing collaborator, they forced me to say, what can you not find on Google? And I think, guys, many of the stories, Tanya's story, Diana's, Maurice's, Stephen's, there might be glimmerings on Google, or there might be nothing on Google. And I think, you know, for me, this book is not just a check on the bucket list, so to speak, although, you know, I've consumed books as an avid reader, never thought I'd actually write one, but writing one has been so far the most rewarding journey and also the most difficult journey that I've taken. And I hope my wish is a cliche one, but one that is from the heart, that I hope that it helps people and helps people get what they want professionally, because there are too many people that are quote unquote disengaged. And now there are too many people with sleepless nights because of the COVID-19 epidemic, worrying if they're going to have a job or worrying how they're going to find the next job.
And you're helping them. And each of you, by telling your stories, are helpful to so many people. Bijan Michelle Small says, hi, Tanya, and sends a greeting. And Kevin says, just bought the book. Congrats all. That is awesome. So I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. I'm going to just tell everybody who they are. We tell everybody who's watching who these folks are so that they can watch the show from the beginning, because we're going to go right into replay mode. And then we'll say goodbye. And then I'm going to do something with New York City, which New York City is what made Marco who he is. So we're going to do a little something that he doesn't know I'm about to do. There's the book jacket, Tapping the Primal Drive That Powers the World's Most Successful People, with a great blurb from Daniel Pink. It captures insights and advice that everyone can use to thrive in the constantly evolving marketplace. And Barbara Corcoran, you know her from Shark Tank. Primitives provide a path forward to unleash your inner entrepreneur. So let's show everybody again our team here. Stephen Value, retired explosives technician in the U.S. Army and Fire District Commissioner. We salute you, sir. Thank you for everything you've done for your country and your community, and you continue to inspire us. Good luck with everything, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
And we're also joined by Maurice Reed
Thank
Jr.
you.
Thank you, Stephen. We're also joined by Maurice Reed Jr., who is an executive account executive at Zillow, and he's had an incredible story. And in his spare time, he manages to be a mentor and motivational speaker to so many young people. Thank you, Maurice, for everything you're doing. We salute you and appreciate you. And Diana, over to you. Former chief pilot, director of operations, manager of flight training. She fought the FAA and she won. And she is at United Way as a first officer. And thank you so much for everything you've done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And Tanya Valle of Tanya Valle Coaching. You want to coach, you got to go to her, because she shows how you can go from zookeeper to New York One News as a reporter, on-air reporter, in 9 months by working really hard, some luck, but that hard work and that primitive spirit. So we salute you, both of you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting Marco and being here with us.
Thank you so much. It was a blast.
Yep,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Yeah, and Lindsay Connolly says, thanks for a fantastic evening. Just bought the book and can't wait to read the stories. So I'm going off camera here without permission from our our producer, to show you New York City a little bit there, Marco. And I know you're in Great Barrington, away from New York, a city you love, the neighborhoods you love. There's the Hudson River, and you can see bits of New York. I'm just wanted you to just know that the city, despite it being in the middle of the crisis, the epicenter of the epicenter, as I like to call it, is still holding on strong and still serving as that creative inspiration as it is for millions of people every day.
Absolutely, and it's inspiring to see that, Sree. It makes me remind myself that I have to ask you for a favor, and I think the answer is going to be yes, but I just want to ask it. Can I have a book party at your beautiful apartment with Rupa's permission, with your blessings, when the coronavirus lifts? Because I would love nothing more. You throw some of the best parties on the Upper West Side, and I'd love to celebrate in person and not give virtual hugs.
That's a yes.
Real hugs. Awesome.
That's a yes.
and we have to invite Neil, an amazing producer, and also my colleague. I mean, all my colleagues I give shout outs to, but Ryan Birchmeyer, you've gone above and beyond.
Thank you. I think everybody deserves a big shout out, a big salute. Neil and I and our team work with lots of people trying to go virtual in this crazy situation. And your team is world-class all the way. We threw a lot of curveballs at you, and we put this together in 1 week, which was incredible. I messed up and put it on the calendar as April 21st. You accepted that as the day for this. And so we were all set. We thought we have an extra 10 days. It was today. It was your birthday.
And we were sending invites only 3 hours before. I mean, and that's also, look, the civilized approach would have been to do this months in advance, to plan everything perfectly. Primitives don't have that luxury. We have to be spontaneous. We have to be extemporaneous, and we have fun doing it.
Thank you. And Tanya says, I want to be invited. So everybody's invited. Buy the book and we'll get you into this party. It may be a few months from now, but Rupa and I love hosting. Rupa already gave you the wine thumbs up. She's ready. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for supporting Marco. Thank you for everything you're doing to make your community safe and help as many people as possible. That's the lesson of Marco's work. And please, again, get this book, primitivebook.com. The hashtag is #PrimitiveBook, easy to find, and you can order the book at primitivebook.com or your favorite bookseller. And Marco, you get the last word. This is your party.
It wasn't what we planned. We planned, as you said, Sree, to do something at some hip place in New York City and have an amazing lineup. Well, guess what? We had an amazing lineup. We did it virtually, and we gave props and such incredible, well-deserved recognition to some of the unsung heroes out there that haven't had their stories told, that are people who have been successful in their career by taking the road less traveled, getting off the beaten path, going off road. And they inspire me each and every day. And Sree, speaking of inspiration, you're a friggin' inspiration. And I can't thank you enough. And you were the best, absolute best host on, not just in New York City, but on planet Earth, to kick off my book launch. So I thank you, man. And I give you a big hug from Great Barrington, Mass, right in the Berkshires and the western side of the Commonwealth.
Thank you. And there's more to be said over our dog walks and everything else. Thank you. Good luck with everything you're doing. And I wish you the very best. Good luck to the family. Keep them safe. And we will talk to you soon. That's my next call because I got to keep working. So that's how.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone who tuned in.
Thank you, everybody who tuned in. Please hit share. Even if you're watching this not so live, please hit share. Please tag your friends. It'll help everybody. They'll learn and they'll be grateful to you. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.